Good evening, everyone, and welcome into Madison Central and Madison Southern, the county clash, as we get you set for the big game tonight. I'm Michael Watkins along with John Clark, and our tailgate show today is presented by Allen Farms and Rodeo. John Clark with State Farm Insurance. We've got some great barbecue courtesy of who's our barbecue sponsor?
Smokin' Jacks.
Smokin' Jacks Barbecue giving us some wings. We've also got Campus Wearhouse and KA Hair Salon, our great sponsors for the tailgate show that we're doing for this special game, special moments happen in this game. And Coach Clark, you were a part of some of those special moments over the last decade or so as you coached at Madison Southern. And when these two teams get together, you know, and I've got a question about this matchup, but wanted to kind of just talk about the rivalry in general before we get to that. But when you look at this matchup, this rivalry, it's very special. No matter if the teams are having bad seasons or good seasons, this game always means more.
It is, and you can throw a lot of things out the window when it comes to rivalry games, and this is one of those scenarios where, as a coach, you watch tape, you watch film, but who will show up and do what on Friday night in these moments? The crowd will be as big as a crowd you'll see at any game for either team. On a night like tonight, it's just a special game.
Well, and tonight, even kind of thrown off kilter a bit with the fact they moved kickoff up an hour. We moved our broadcast for the tailgate show up an hour. So not as many people out tailgating at the moment, but it's very cool out here. You've got your stuff set up. Again, we're going to be giving away some free food, so come on out and grab some wings, grab some barbecue, courtesy of Smokin' Jacks. Go over here and meet is it Weed Cutter? Weed Whacker. That's our miniature bull here, courtesy of Allen Farms and Rodeo. You can see him here behind us. Get a good shot of him, Copeland. He's going to be the main attraction before the game starts. I mean, this guy is ready to kind of prepare you for the rodeo coming up here in Richmond on October 31st and November 1st. So make plans now to attend that, and you'll see the commercial stuff for the rodeo coming up in late October, early November for Allen Farms and Rodeo over at the Madison County Fairgrounds. They're going to be giving away some tickets for the rodeo, so stop by, register for that. We've got stuff to give away as well, so be sure to come over and talk to us here. We're set up in the corner right next to the edge of the softball field where it meets the bleachers here up at Madison Central. But Coach, you know, one of the things, and I think people will be very interested to know this, when I was looking back at the previous schedules, and you and Coach Centers, obviously you guys knew each other very well. You went against each other a lot. But there were some times where this game was like maybe week 1 or week 2. There was some times where it was at the end of the year. So talk about those conversations and why it kind of flip-flopped every now and then on when this game occurred.
Well, when I first got to Southern in 2011, was my first season, Southern and Central didn't play anymore. And my first question was, why are we not playing the other school in the county? And it was because it wasn't competitive. It had been blowouts, and I was like, if we're going to get where we want to go, we have to make this a staple every year on the schedule, no matter who's good or not. And when we did that, I wanted the game at the end of the year because I've just came from college ranks, came from a very good high school program that was always a state contender in Indiana. And rivalry games tend to be late in the season.
They tend to be that way in college.
College games are late. Rivalry games are the other states I were. And the school administrations wanted it early in the year. They wanted to do it early because they thought it was great for the gates, great for the ticketing. I wanted it to be the last game of the season.
And it was a couple of times.
So you can tell when I got what I wanted and when everybody else got what they wanted. Because I thought it was a great rivalry going into playoffs because the intensity of the game was great. And I always liked a hard game the week before playoffs. A lot of people didn't like that. A lot of teams like to take a game off. I didn't like that. I think if you're playing well, you have to keep going in the season.
And I could see arguments for both, but I'm with you. I mean, to me, you don't want a cakewalk game, the last game of the regular season, because you want your guys to be sharp. You don't really want a bye week, although I could see the argument for a bye week, maybe, or an open week or whatever you want to call it. But the fact that you're getting ready to go into the postseason, you just finished district games, so you have that one kind of lull in the schedule. Why not make it a rivalry game and keep your spirits up, keep your hype up for what will be the postseason the following week?
The other thing that happens is you get late into high school football in Kentucky. What's starting? Basketball season. So UK basketball starts and things start, and that hurts attendance. So to me, and I think that's what the administration thought was attendance won't be as good late. I just was a fan of it. crisp fall night, little fog in the mornings. I just think it's different when it's at the end of the year. But either way, man, it was a great rivalry to be a part of.
We expect a great crowd tonight again. 6:30 kickoff. So if you're seeing this, you didn't know that the game was moved up. They are now kicking off tonight at 6:30. We're coming at you live here at the Tailgate Show, courtesy of John Clark State Farm, Allen Farms, and Rodeo. The folks over at Smokin' Jack's Barbecue. Also, Campus Wearhouse. Listen, if you are a fan of Madison Central, Madison Southern, Model, Berea, they have got gear for you. Even the middle school teams here in the area, they have got the styles to help suit you to cheer on your favorite team. If you're going to go to the EKU game tomorrow, I was in there earlier today. I've got two $25 gift cards, one for a Madison Central student, one for a Madison Southern student. And while I was in there today, a ton of maroon. So if you're going to the Eastern game tomorrow, stop by Campus Wearhouse right there on the Eastern Bypass and grab your EKU maroon gear. Maybe you're going to the Kentucky game. They've got Kentucky apparel as well. So stop in Campus Wearhouse. KA Hair Salon. Listen, folks, there's a reason why it looks so good. It's because of KA Hair Salon. Carrie does a great job of making the hair look good. She shaves the beard for me, does a great job of taking care of me over there at KA Hair Salon. We've got a gift certificate for a cut and a style there at KA Hair Salon as well. So stop on by here. We'll tell you how you can get registered for that. Coach and I here in a few short moments, we're going to do a fantasy draft from Central and Southern players that have played in this rivalry. That'll be a lot of fun. We're looking to talk to some of these guys that are here. I know you got some of your former players here.
You know, guys are going to get mad at me because of this draft. Like, there'll be guys that won't call me for a year after this. I'm sure of it.
And here's the thing, too. There were so many great players. I mean, there really were. I was looking at just, some of the stats from games earlier. I mean, Walter Smith, we just talked to him a few minutes ago. Some of the performances that he put up. Tobias, Walter's brother Carter had some big games in this rivalry. You talked about Farnstrom. Clay Bunch is a kid that I remember. Knuckles had some big moments. On the other side for Central, Freddie Schneider had a 4-touchdown game against you where you coached against them. Derek Miller was the quarterback. Blake Muntz was the tight end. Ethan Hahn. There's just so many names you can rattle off.
Hahn was a good player, man. I hear that name sometimes, too.
Yeah,
he was the guy you had to know where he was on the field.
Ethan kind of played that wing slot receiver role, but he could run the ball. He could catch it. There's been so many good players come through both of these programs. We didn't even mention the guy that went the furthest, Damian Harris, who played for you, that went and played in the NFL. So there's been so many big names, so many talented players. And I say it all the time. Here in Madison County, we are spoiled. I mean, there are some great athletes, not even on the football field, whether it be volleyball or soccer, basketball, baseball, track and field. I mean, Carrie O'Shea here was Gatorade Player of the Year almost every year while she was in high school. Golf. I mean, didn't even get some golf. Their state championship golf teams, cheerleading, dance. I mean, there are so many
the bands really are very talented. There's a lot of good talented
and that's
young people.
One of the disappointing things about tonight. We were going to see the Madison Central band perform at halftime, but due to the weather, they have decided not to bring their stuff out to perform tonight. It is, and they had a showcase here last week for folks to come out and kind of see the band and take part in the little thing that they were having going on. But there's just so many great young minds, athletes, all the great things here in Madison County, and we're just excited to be a part of showcasing those great athletes here tonight on the football field as well.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a great night, fun night. See some guys are starting to roll in. I've got a lot of former guys coming in. I'm not as connected as much to the Central players, but a lot of guys, we're inviting some former guys from Central as well, so hopefully we'll get a good turnout for the tailgate.
Well, again, if you are seeing this, come by and talk to us. We'll get you signed up and tell you how you can win the gift card to either Campus Wearhouse or to KA Hair Salon. We'll tell you about that. We've got some Smokin' Jack's Barbecue over here that we're going to be passing out as well. So come on by, see us, and get ready for what should be a really fun game tonight. Before we kind of get into our fantasy draft stuff, you know both of these coaches very well. They both coached under you at one point at Southern. So talk about that, and I feel like you kind of have a little sprinkle on both sidelines tonight.
There are coaches on both sidelines that either played for me or coached with me. I was looking at the other day. I think there's about 5 or 6 total in the matchup tonight. Sam Grinstead's over here. He stopped by. Sam was a former player that played for me that's working with Southern now. So, yeah, it's kind of cool. Like, for me, the fun thing about tonight is seeing just the connections with a lot of former players and coaches. Now, you've got two really good defensive-minded head coaches in this game tonight. They run a similar style defense. Both are 30 front-based defenses that play a 4-high shell, which means 2 high safeties. They'll get in and out of it, but they run very similar schemes.
Okay.
And they actually have some similarities in how they break down offenses. Now, they don't know that about each other as much as I know that about them. So getting to be in game planning with both of them, they're going to look at each other's offenses from a similar perspective of what they're looking for. Where's the tight end? Where's the strength? Where's the boundary? Boundary being the sideline of the field. There's just certain keys. Who are they going to – both their linebackers tonight, their inside linebackers are coming in. They have a read key. Is it the fullback? Is it the guards? So it'll be interesting to see how they pick each other apart.
Now, this freshman or this senior class would have been freshman year last year at Southern. Am I correct on that?
I believe so, yes.
So you probably know at least some of the faces out there playing for Southern. I haven't got a chance to see them this year, but I did get a chance to look at some of the highlights from last week's game. And one thing that I've noticed from watching the highlights and being at both Central games to seeing the highlights from the Southern game, there have been mistakes made during the first 2 weeks from both teams. Tonight, you've got to clean that stuff up because in a rivalry game, and we saw it with Southern with Central last week, those things can hurt you. You miss a possession or you lose a possession because of a mental mistake or just one little thing goes wrong. You've got to play, not a perfect game, but in a rivalry game, every single inch, every moment matters in a game like tonight.
It does, and I took the time this week to watch as much film as I could get on Southern. I watched their game against Henry Clay on YouTube channel for WBON this week, so really had a chance to break down both teams going in. A lot of younger players on the field for Southern. Central definitely has the advantage as far as experience goes. You got a very experienced defense, a very experienced offensive line. Quarterback's got a lot of starts under his belt, so there's no question you can see a difference on the field in experience. That also being said, you know, games like this come down to turnovers and penalties. Southern had a lot of penalties last week. Turnovers have been an issue. Central had a pretty clean game last week. Not a lot of turnovers, not a lot of penalties. So I think it'll really come down to who can stay out of 3rd and long.
Especially with the way Central likes to run the football.
Exactly.
If you're Southern's defense and you can force them to 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, you have a much better chance of getting that offense off the field and giving your young quarterback and Gabe Beard a chance to maybe hit a deep ball like he did last week in that touchdown.
No question.
Against Henry Clay.
The only penalty they had that I can recall was during that deep ball. So they had a pretty clean game other than a few moments, and that was one that had a big effect on the game last week for them.
All right, let's do our fantasy draft. We've been building this thing up. I know you're excited about it. And listen,
I'm glad they're not over here.
You said you took a break from fantasy football and you got back into it this year.
I hadn't done it. I didn't realize this. I'm in a league with some of my former players, and I didn't realize I hadn't done it since 2009.
Oh wow,
and some of them were like, "You've got to be kidding!" I was like, "No." And they were joking with me. They were like, "How'd you draft via fax?" And I was like, "Come on, guys, I'm not that old." But so I am in a fantasy league for the first time in a long time.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. So we're going, and I'll put it in my phone. And what I'll do is we'll list it on the Facebook page, and we'll let people vote on who wins. Maybe at halftime of the game tonight we can revisit our lineup. So here we go. We're going to do a quarterback, 2 running backs. So we'll put this in my phone. 2 wide receivers. And 2 defensive players and 2 tight ends. So
now I have to preface, I'm thinking about this because in fantasy, a lot of points are given to touchdowns, not necessarily rushing yards in my league at least. So a lot of it comes down to like touchdowns, points, those type of things. So
here's what we just want the people that are watching to vote on who put the best team together. So that might be the best way to do it. So we're going to do a rock, paper, scissors, the old-fashioned way, to decide who gets the first pick. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Rock, paper, scissors. Oh, of course. Rock, paper, scissors. All right, so I got first pick. And listen, there's a lot of really good players. And I've been this week we've drafted strategy and everything.
All
right, so I want Walter Smith.
You're kidding me.
No, I want Walter Smith.
You really just took Walter Smith.
Who did you want?
Walt was going to be my first pick,
I know, exactly. That's what we thought. I looked at the numbers today, and it's an easy decision. Now, here's the thing about Walt. You could line him up anywhere. I'm going to put him at wide receiver.
I'm telling you. Walt was actually going to be a tailback for me.
Okay, all right. So we've got Walt.
Daggone, man. Smith. I did not expect you to go with the Walter Smith pick.
Listen. Okay. I've been on a lot of these games.
You were the first pick of the draft,
You were the first pick of the draft, and I got you. So
he took you.
Yeah, I stole you from me. We got Walter Smith over here.
We're doing a fantasy draft from this team, so.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not going to put your brother on the team just to help chemistry already. I've already got that lined out. So we want to make you're the #1 overall pick, so we've got to build the team around you.
You were going to be my first pick. He stole you from me.
I knew what he was going to do. So listen, I won't make you work as hard as he did, though. We'll give you some breaks.
Hopefully not.
All right, so now it's your pick, so we'll let you go now.
All right, I'm taking Carter Smith.
Okay, all right, that works.
Now I'm going to take Carter on the defensive side of the ball.
Okay, all right.
He had some monster games against Central. So the Smith brothers were officially taken 1 and 2 in the fantasy draft.
All right, now, so again, there's a lot of good talent that's come through both of these programs. There was one that, and we haven't got a Central player yet, so I'm going with Madison Central, Brady Hensley.
Yeah.
Running back position, had some great offensive line play in front of him during his time here with the Indians. Had some great games against Madison Southern, now playing over at EKU. So Brady Hensley is going to be my second pick.
Okay, Brady Hensley's your second pick. I like it. Okay, good. Okay. Now, we're leaning into not just like players. We're saying players. Are we basing on their performance in these games?
No, well,
or are we going overall?
I think overall. Overall. Yeah.
Okay. Because I had to really weigh that in my head with some of the stuff. So, and the other thing with me is I can't help but think about my team as a whole, where I'm going to piece guys if they were to play each other. All right, so my next pick is going to be Tobias Storm. Okay. And I'm putting Tobias, this is probably going to shock him, I'm putting him at running back.
Running back, okay.
I'm putting him at running back in this draft. All right. Tobias had a monster game. Him and Walt both had a monster game here at Central. I think he rushed for 150, threw for like 180.
And he had, I think, 3 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah, he had a really big game that night, and he did some special things with the ball.
When I was looking back at some of the numbers, again, I went through both in the last 10 years. I think that's where we're going back the last 10 years. So 2014, the two teams didn't play in 2021, I believe, because of COVID.
Yeah, we had COVID.
So that year obviously doesn't count. But when you look at some of the individual talent again, quarterbacks, we'll get to those in a few. But wide receiver, there's been some good wide receivers. I'm going to go Jaden West, who was just a freak athlete, another EKU football player right now. I'm going to put Jaden at wide receiver, a kid that didn't matter who his quarterback was, he could go up and make plays for you. So Jaden West is my wide receiver.
Jaden West is your wide receiver. Okay. Okay, good. Oh, man, I knew this was going to be hard to do this.
Oh, it is.
I knew this was going to be hard to do this. This is hard to do on the spot. So my next pick, I'm going to go with the wide receiver position as well. My first pick at wide receiver is going to be Jonah Farnstrom.
Okay.
Jonah Farnstrom was absolutely dynamic at wide receiver, deep ball threat. Wasn't always healthy throughout high school. I don't think everybody saw the full potential. He had moments when he was healthy that he was very, very tough to deal with. So Jonah would be my pick at receiver.
A really good athlete as well.
Really good athlete.
Was Jonah
Great
Farnstrom.
route runner.
We haven't got quarterbacks yet. I'm sitting with 1 running back and 2 wide receivers. You have a running back, a wide receiver, and 1 defensive player. On that topic, I'm going to grab my first defensive player. You know, when you look back at this rivalry and just the history of these two programs, there's been a lot of players that were just great leaders. Yeah. And a lot of just really good individual, talented guys. Levi Gaskins was one of my favorite players to ever cover. I had a great relationship with him after he graduated here at Madison Central, and he just seemed like a really, really good kid, a good athlete. So Levi Gaskins is a guy I'm going to put on my team to be a leader and one of my defensive players on that side of the football.
I see that. He was a guy I'd written down. Now, you know this. I didn't write down a ton of Central guys because I got a reputation with my former players to uphold, but Gaskins was on the list.
Okay.
He was a good player, man.
He was. And, again, just one of those kids that made plays. Yeah. Just made plays.
Very good player. All right, I'm going to go with the quarterback position. I'm going to go with the guy that played in this game one time but ended up transferring, Cole Carpenter. He had a very good game against Central in 2020, and then he went on to Douglas and won the state championship there. But Cole's definitely the guy I want throwing to Jonah.
Yeah, and you got some whip now. Did Cole and Jonah play together?
They did.
They did, okay.
They did. They played together a little bit when Jonah was healthy. And Cole even said to this day he would tell you that one of his favorite targets to throw to were Walt and Jonah.
When I was looking back, now we've got a highlight reel from the last 10 years, just some of the games that we have done on WBON. We're going to save that toward the end of the broadcast, but we've got that to play. It's about a 6-minute clip of just highlights from this rivalry over the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years that we've been able to be a part of here at WBON TV. So we'll save that toward the end. Continuing in our fantasy draft, you talked about, there's not been a lot of tight ends come through here, or guys that lined up and played tight end. One guy that played for you that I know very well, it was a great blocking tight end. Y'all didn't throw it a ton to him, but Xavier Strothman.
Okay.
And a kid that good blocker, could catch the football whenever he could. That's a kid that I want on my team as well because he can kind of be a guy you can throw it to. If you just give him 3 receptions a game, he can block for you. I got some good running backs, so Xavier Strothman is going to be my tight end.
Okay, I like that pick. It's a good pick. Okay. All right, so I'm going to make a switch. So I've got a quarterback, I've got a running back, I've got a receiver, and I've got a defensive player, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to go back into defense right now because this is a guy I can't have you pick up. Now, I was really torn between 2 defensive players here, and I ended up going with the one I'm going to pick right now because he had some big games against Central.
Okay.
All right, and it's going to be Nate Eads.
Okay, yeah.
And where I was torn was Aaron Sipple.
He had 16 tackles in the game for you.
Aaron Sipple had a big game against Central, and I was really torn between the 2. Nate's a guy that could play in the secondary, could play down at the line of scrimmage, also could play receiver and play running back. He's just a little more plug and play. But Aaron, I love you, man. You're like right there, dude. But it was a tough call.
Well, listen, so again, there's been some really good players come through this. Damian Harris, I think, because it's been so long since he played in this rivalry, I'm not going to draft him. But there was another running back who had a 4-touchdown game in this matchup against a Madison Southern team led by you as the head coach. Freddie Chenault.
Yeah.
And a bowling ball. I mean, just the kid bounced off tackles, was hard to bring down. Another leader, kind of a quiet kid, but he let his game do the talking. So Freddie Chenault, my other running back on my team.
Yeah, very good pick. Chenault was a good player for him, man. Very good player. I'm going to go tight end this round. All right. One of the best tight ends I coached. I had a run of really good tight ends when I first got there. Spencer Stone was one. Austin Beetlestone was one that played in this rivalry. And I had to really break down between Austin and Andrew Miller is going to be my pick.
Okay.
Andrew Miller had a great career at Southern. Him and Beetlestone were neck and neck. Gonna go with Miller just because he was a little bit heavier rear-ended in high school in the run game. But tough call between those 2.
So you need a running back and a wide receiver to round out your fantasy roster. Yep. I need a defensive player and quarterback.
Okay.
So you've got both of your defensive player and quarterback already lined. So
my other running back is on your team as a wide receiver. It was going to be Walt.
It is. I stole him from you, though. I stole him from you. So I'm going to save quarterback for my final pick, and I'm going to go defensive player. And, again, there have been some hard hitters in this rivalry. There have been some guys playing multiple positions in this rivalry. Yeah. I want a guy on my team that can be one of those hard hitters, a guy that played for Madison Central, Jackson Jewett.
Yeah.
His sister.
He was on my list. Good player, man.
His sister played softball at Madison Southern.
Yeah,
she was a really good athlete herself. But Jackson, a kid that could play linebacker. He could, play on the edge. He could blitz quarterback. He could play in some zone coverage. A really good athlete. Jackson Jewett is going to be my other defensive player.
And his leadership, you could see it.
Yep.
When we were game planning, Jackson Jewett did a great job defensively of molding his defense into his personality.
Yeah, yeah.
I really liked him. He was tough to game plan against. He was a good player here.
So you need a wide receiver and a running back.
All right, my next wide receiver, I'm going to take him at wide receiver because he had really good numbers against Central, and he could kind of do whatever he needed to. Is going to be Hunter Richardson.
Okay.
Hunter Richardson's now Madison County Sheriff. That's how long it's been since Hunter was out here on the field, but Hunter's going to be my next pick at wide receiver.
So if I get a ticket, I can call you, and Hunter can probably help me get out of it.
Don't call me now.
All right.
Call Hunter.
All right.
Yeah.
So we've got one pick left, and, again, when you look at the quarterback position, there's been some guys that – both you, Coach Centers, Coach Holcomb, could just line up there. And even if they weren't maybe necessarily pocket QBs, it was guys that could make plays for you. You talk about Landon Stacy or Tobias Storm. Derek Miller comes to mind. Hagan Harrison was a great player that could play both sides, or that could be run and pass. You took Cole as your quarterback, and Cole was he might be maybe the only quarterback I can come to mind that was more of a pocket passer.
Yeah, he was a true passer.
He could sit there in the shotgun and just kind of pick a defense apart. He had some great weapons to throw to as well. We've got great weapons on both of our teams. Quarterback-wise, man, it's hard to choose one. Let me think about it here. you know what? I'm going to go with Derek Miller because
he was a good player, man.
And he could play defense. If I needed another defensive guy to slide in there, he did. He came in. They had that blitz package. They called it the NASCAR package with him and Blake Muntz, where they would just come in, put those two guys on the edge on third down, and they would just come after your quarterback. So I want to put Derek Miller as my quarterback because he can run, he can pass, and in the pinch, if I need him to, he can play some defense as well.
You know, when you watch film, especially in a rivalry game, there was always guys at Central that I'd sit there and go, I wish they were at Southern. Like, I could just see what I could do with them. He was one that I really felt like I just used to watch him. I'm like, man, I wish I had that guy. Like, I think we could really do some stuff with it.
Well, and I feel like, hey, with Miller as my quarterback, I can put Wald at QB and put Miller at tight end or put him in the backfield if I have a second and goal at the 1 yard line and let Miller just fall forward for a touchdown. So.
No, it does give you a lot of room there. It's really good.
All right, so your last pick, you need a running back to round out your roster. And so far, you're all Madison Southern. Is that going to continue?
Yeah, it's going to continue, man. It's got to. And I had a couple, like, if we had gone kickers, White was going to be my pick. We talked about that. He's as good of a high school kicker as I've ever seen. And there's been some good players here. Hahn was a really good player.
Yeah,
just watching him, I really liked his game, just how physical he was. I think it's the obvious easy pick is to take Damian Harris, which we talked about. We kind of talked about that before, that, like, he's kind of the no-brainer in this to take. So knowing that everybody would take him, we've both kind of said we're going to stay away from that pick just because of that. So
it's like taking Michael Jordan in basketball draft. You know,
like nobody else gets picked then if we take him, and I think we all know that's the answer. So for me, my pick at running back is a guy that he may be surprised by this, but he was a very dynamic running back. He was a tough kid, and if he had been a starter for multiple years, I think he would have shocked Madison County, but he played back up to Damian a lot. And it's going to be Peyton Skidmore.
Skidmore.
And Peyton is here this evening. Peyton's film, if you watch it, very explosive. Could play wide receiver, could play running back, and I just know his story personally. He was a tough kid because he knowing he could play a lot of places and be a superstar. He had to watch a lot behind Damian for a long time, and he stayed with it. But he's definitely a dynamic player for me.
Well, here's our rosters for our Central Southern Fantasy Draft. My quarterback is Derek Miller. Running backs, Brady Hensley and Freddie Chenault. Wide receivers, Walter Smith and Jaden West. Tight end, Xavier Strothman. Defensive players, Levi Gaskins and Jackson Jewett. For Coach Clark, he's got Cole Carpenter as his quarterback. His wide receivers are Jonah Farnstrom and Hunter Richardson. Running backs, Tobias Storm and Peyton Skidmore. Tight end, Andrew Miller. And defensive players, Nate Eads and Carter Smith. There were so many guys. And listen, we didn't take offensive linemen. There's been some great ones come through here.
You know I could load up on some linemen now.
And you talked about you've got Dane Jackson.
Will Ulmer was a great lineman.
For sure.
There's some really good linemen.
You've got Malachi Wood, who's playing at UK right now. That played
Justice
for Central.
Williams was a really good defensive, offensive lineman for us as well. There's been some good linemen in this rivalry.
Yeah, and there's so much fun. It's fun to do stuff like this. And listen,
this is fun.
To me, and here's the thing: these guys, Walt and all these, and Tobias, when they were on the field, then they hated Madison Central. When Central was on the field, they hated Madison Southern. But you talked about it. Nowadays, these kids are out here. They're working together. They're doing things together. That rivalry is deep. But once school is over, man, these kids are going to college together. They're doing things. And some of them might even have businesses together or do whatever. But it's cool to see how life changes after you graduate high school.
It is. And a lot of them, like, I still stay in touch with a lot of former players. And a lot of them will say, hey, what are you doing? I'm doing something with so-and-so. And it's a kid that played at Central.
Yeah.
You know, they're more connected than I think a lot of people realize. And I run into a lot of kids that played at Central that'll come up and introduce themselves. And I know who they are, and they know who I am. And I think that it's a healthy rivalry. It's definitely not something that's unhealthy, which can happen in rivalries.
I was going to see if I could get Kenny from the Rodeo to come over and talk to us.
You got to bring this bull over here. Yeah, I want to see Trey Livingood wrestle him.
Yeah, that would be a good matchup, I feel like.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah. I think if we could, when you look at our sponsors, again, we've got a gift card to K.A. Hair Salon, a gift card to Campus Wearhouse for one Madison Central student and one Madison Southern student. We've also got tickets to give giveaway for the rodeo coming up with Allen Farms and Rodeo at the Madison County Fairgrounds. That will take place on October 31st, Halloween night. And I understand, listen, Halloween can be kind of chaotic. So what they're doing with the rodeo is they're having kind of like a trunk or treat event at the rodeo. So you can come out there that evening, have your kids come out in their costumes, grab their candy, and then you can go in. They're going to have a concert that night before the rodeo, and the rodeo and all the fun with the, the barrel racing and the bull riding and all that stuff will take place at 7:30 on Halloween night. The following night, second night of the rodeo, again, it's at the Madison County Fairgrounds. The gates open up at 4:30. The mutton busting, which is the kids kind of riding the goats and the sheep. That'll be a lot of fun, too. But just come on out. Have a great time with Allen Farms and Rodeo coming up on October 31st and November 1st at the Madison County Fairgrounds. And they are here tonight giving away some free tickets to that rodeo. So come out, take advantage of that. John Clark State Farm is here. I don't know where John Clark is, but he's around here somewhere. And
it's still weird to hear that, by the way.
Well, and you've got some really cool food and good food from Smokin' Jack's Barbecue.
Yeah, and Dane's here. So Dane Jackson, their family owns Smokin' Jack's Barbecue.
And they're in Berea, correct?
They're in Berea, and they do catering, and they're catering for Old Miss's team. They Lexington Legends. They do stuff for local programs, EKU. Sometimes the Cincinnati Bengals. They cater.
Okay.
They do weddings. They do all kinds of stuff. Their food's fantastic.
So look them up online as well. Yep. It's Smokin' Jack's Barbecue, and they'll take great care of you there. Listen, folks, it's a great night here. It's Madison Central and Madison Southern. We'll see if Amanda, send Kenny over here with the bull when he comes back if you can. All right. So we're going to try to get the bull over here and just kind of talk about the rodeo.
We need Dane or Trey to come.
How big it is? Yeah, it's got a big head. It's got a big head.
Yeah, I want to see what its head looks like next to Trey's.
That's a good measurement for sure. But with this rivalry, and we talked about the many great players that have come through, you've had a lot of success against Madison Central, and you talked about this rivalry and how you kind of wanted to get it started back because it challenges both teams, really. Yeah. Central's a 6A school, Southern's a 5A school, but it's a great early season test, and for Southern, they're coming off a win last week against Henry Clay. For Central, a heartbreaking loss, 1-point defeat on the road at Johnson Central. So you're coming off a win for the Eagles, a loss for the Indians. How do you think the mindsets for both teams are as they come into the game tonight?
Well, you mentioned last week both have some games coming up next that they have circled on the schedule, some games that I think but I really can't imagine. I mean, it's been a while since I've been in the building, but I can't imagine that everybody's not just focused and honed in on this game. Yeah. I mean, everybody that you go to church with, everybody that you work with in your summer jobs, all your parents' friends, your teachers, I mean, your cousins that go to Central or Southern, like everybody's here tonight. Yeah. And we used to tell our players this all the time. You can win and lose a lot of games, but people can become a legend in a game like this, i.e. like to this day, people still ask me about Walter Smith and Tobias Storm from what they did in this rivalry game. People remember Damian Harris in 2013.
Had 4 touchdowns.
Here going off in this game. Yeah. That was do you remember the crowd? There were probably 15,000 people at a game in this rivalry, and it's standing room only when we do this. Look at this thing.
We've got Kenny from Allen Farms and Rodeo coming over.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, this is Weed Eater? Weed Whacker. I'm going to get it right eventually.
He may or may not be the son of...
Okay, Bushwhacker. Okay. I like it, though, but I like it. All right, so we've talked about the rodeo. Obviously, you guys putting this on. You've got one coming up in Mount Vernon here in a few weeks, and then over in Broadhead, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And then you've got the one in Richmond on Halloween night, and then November 1st. On Halloween night, you've got a trunk or treat event you're going to be putting on for the kids to wear their costumes and come out. And then you've I don't blame him. I like me too. He's kind of he's ready to get back in the barn, right? But to just talk about that real quick and just how much fun folks are going to have as they come out to this thing on Halloween night and November 1st.
Yep, so we will be at the Madison County Fairgrounds on Halloween night, and we know that may not be the best night to have a rodeo because kids are going to be trick-or-treating, so we're trying to create an atmosphere where kids can come trick-or-treat with us. So we're going to have a big gigantic tent, and we're asking nonprofits, churches, businesses, whoever to come out and do a trunk or treat at the fairgrounds. So anybody that comes to the rodeo can take their kids around. We're calling it Kid Zone. So they can come trick or treat there. And the whole point of what we're doing is more than just rodeos. We want to bring the whole Western culture. Our little tagline is bringing the West East. So we want to we want to let them come be a cowboy for the night. As a matter of fact, if they dress up, we're going to do a free pony to the best costume at the trunk or treat. So, yeah.
That'll be really cool. And then on Saturday, I think everybody loves the mutton busting. And for folks that aren't familiar with that, talk about exactly what that is and who can take part in that.
Sure. So mutton busting is for kids under 50 pounds. We'll take 30 riders that night. So basically what that is little guys who want to be a bull rider and they're not ready for a bull, they get on sheep. And the sheep kind of take off running. So it's honestly it's the crowd favorite. So we'll do that night. If you want to bring your kid out to mutton bust, make sure you get there early. The gates will open at 4 p.m. We're only taking 30 riders. So once we hit that number, we have to stop there. So and the winner will get a buckle that night. So there'll be a
All right, so before we let you go and get back with Weed Whacker, tell us where folks can go to get more information and to stay up to date as you guys get closer to this event.
Yeah, and we will have a ton more stuff. We have a concert. We've not talked about that much. On Halloween night, we'll have a concert for the parents while their kids are doing the trick-or-treating. We'll have a concert in the arena. Go to allenfarmsrodeo.com, allenfarmsrodeo.com, or go to our Facebook page. And that's the best place. You get your tickets on the website, and if you get your tickets now, you save $5 per ticket. Okay. So it's good to go ahead and get your ticket. But if you get on our Facebook page, we will constantly be showing updates at that place. So. Okay.
There you go, folks. So Allen Farms and Rodeo on Facebook or allenfarmsrodeo.com. Weed Whacker, I'll let you go, man. I ain't messing with. I do not want to ride him. No, listen. I woke up this morning and my back and shoulder were hurting just from sleeping. So I can't imagine me riding this thing would be very good. So I'm gonna let you take care of him, get him back, and we'll get.
Well behaved.
He is. Listen, I wish my kids behaved like that, but that's neither here nor there. But let's get back to some football talk. Appreciate Kenny from Allen Farms and Rodeo. Again, make sure to like their Facebook page and follow along as they get set for a very, very busy next couple of months with their rodeos coming up again. One in Broadhead and then one in Richmond. Both rodeos will have 2 nights of fun-filled action for you. So
I would challenge you to find another tailgate in the state tonight that has a mini bowl there.
Yeah, this is probably one of a kind,
like
for
literally.
Sure. Yeah. Want to ask you, so you've been a part of some crazy moments both on the field and off the field. Tonight, kind of a scenario where there's an off-the-field moment with them moving the kickoff up an hour.
Yeah.
Does that have any kind of effect on players? You're starting the game a little bit earlier, so does that have an effect on people?
Totally does. I was thinking about that. Like, just moving up the tailgate affected my day.
Yeah.
You know, and then my wife and I were discussing that about how it changes what time your meal is,
That's
how
true.
much time they're, did they get out of school an hour early? There's a lot of factors. Buses.
Yeah.
So if Southern had a bus up here, did it affect the bus getting there in time to get loaded to get them here? You have coaches that work other jobs that had to get to certain places. So I think it's a pretty big effect, actually, for kids more than people realize. Trainers have to get here. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts that go into the game.
Was there other than on the field stuff?
Yeah.
What's maybe the craziest thing that happened to you as a coach with one of your teams?
I've got a really funny story, actually. Okay. So Tim Kirk, before he worked with me at Southern, Tim Kirk was here with Mark Centers. He was the defensive coordinator at Central under Mark Centers.
Okay.
All right. And we were playing them, and we go in at halftime, and we're coming out. We used to do a ton of surprise onside kicks with Walton Carter. We lived in that. And Tim, to tell the story now, is so funny. So we are kicking off the start of the second half, and he said he literally, before they left the locker room, Kirk said, I told my Indians, they are going to surprise onside. Be ready for it. We come out. We had the look we wanted. We always prepared. Ben Colbert was a great special teams coordinator. We always had certain gaps we were looking for. We saw it the whole first half. We have it. We save it till halftime. We come out after halftime. We surprise onside kick. We recover it. And then right on film, when you watch it after the game, Tim Kirk was wearing a white hat. And on film, we're watching afterwards. The minute we surprise onside, Kirk takes his hat off and throws it about 50 feet in the air. And you see, we watched it 100 times. He was so mad when we did that. And that's why I was like, I got to hire this dude.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing, too. Now he is the head coach at Madison Southern.
He is.
So do you think that maybe Coach Kirk does something like that tonight to try to catch the Indians off guard? Because I think if you ask the quote-unquote or the so-called experts out there that would predict this game, Central's probably the favorite because
and
they've
on
got
film, they look better right now.
Exactly.
There's no doubt. They all know that.
And so do you think that Coach Kirk has to try to maybe do something out of the ordinary to try to catch the Indians off guard and maybe steal a possession or two in this game?
Oh, and you bring up a good point. Where I've worked with both these guys, they know kind of my mindset. And my mindset going into a game like this is if I feel we're an underdog, if we're out-athleted, if they're more physical, if they're just a better team, we're not playing just to play. We're trying to win. So we would literally sit in meetings and I would say, okay, I think we need to steal possession to be in this game in the first half, or I think we need to steal 2 to be in this game. What do we need to have happen to make this game go right for us? So I know that they've both definitely been in rooms with coaches where those conversations are happening. So I don't know is the answer. It ultimately comes down to the experience of your players. It sounds great to do that, but can the players handle it, or does it lead to a penalty? Does it lead to a lineup wrong to run this trick play? When you have a young team, sometimes you got to play the hand you're dealt and know we're young and we don't want to overdo it and we're trying to get good for districts. Or sometimes you go, we can handle it. Let's roll the dice a little bit.
You know, you talked about some of the big moments, and I'll tell you what, I've got in my bag here. I printed out, or I wrote down maybe some of the bigger stats or bigger moments from this rivalry game. And, again, there have been some really good performances with the win. We'll cooperate. You know, the last couple of years, Bryant Mathis has had some big games. You know, the running back for Central. Hagan Harrison had a good game. He ran. And
Mathis was one I considered in my draft, too.
Well,
I had a hard time drafting Central guys. No offense to him, man. But
you've got experience with the Southern guys, so that makes sense.
It's a little different.
That makes sense. We talked about, Ashton Holberg. Him and his brother Gavin, they both had good games. 2-touchdown game for Ashton in this rivalry. Gavin had a 3-touchdown game and a 78-yard game in this matchup. Ethan Hahn in one game had 102 rushing yards and 2 scores. We talked about Damian Harris had 17 carries for 318 yards
he had
and 4
multiple
touchdowns.
300-yard games in this rivalry, I believe.
So he obviously had some big performances from him. Alex Knuckles had a 2-touchdown game. We talked about Tobias Storm and Walter Smith. There was one game for Storm where he had 157 passing yards and 2 touchdowns and 146 rushing yards and 2 scores. So big game for Tobias in this matchup as well.
That game has a really good game plan story behind it. They had a defensive lineman, Sweat.
Adgren Sweat, he
was really good, man. He was a really good defensive lineman. In my opinion, one of the better defensive linemen that have played in this rivalry. And we weren't going to be able to handle it. And I'm watching film, and I always had a philosophy as a coach, if we can't block you, I'm not going to block you. And he was super aggressive, so I said, let's just read him. So we didn't block him the whole night. We left him unblocked, and Tobias had to find him, check the play to him, and read him. And, man, he did a great job of reading him. But the amount of times Tobias or the running back or Knuckles got smacked in the mouth from Sweat while we were gone on the other side. Sweat was very frustrated after the game, too, but he was a fantastic player. We game planned our whole game around that young man.
Well, Edgar Sweat was a kid that they would line him up at fullback, at some points, too. So there's been, we talked about Sipple, guys we didn't draft. There's been so many.
There's been a lot of them.
Recently.
Tyler Hagan. There's been a lot of them.
Ethan Woods, I think, in this game had 2 touchdowns a couple of years ago. So there's been some really good players come through the ranks. And again, you talked about not being able to draft a Central player. You said something about maybe there was a guy or two that you would like to have had on one of your teams. So tell me right now, if you could pick one Madison Central player.
Can't be the kicker?
Not kicker. If you could pick one Madison Central player that you didn't coach, that you would have loved to have had a chance to coach, who would that have been?
Will Ulmer.
Okay, all right.
Will Ulmer. I've got a soft spot for a lineman.
Okay, yeah.
And Will's my kind of guy. He would have fit what we did very well.
Up front with Ulmer and Living Good
on that's the thing. He would have been Dane Jackson, Dawson Gabbard, like Will Ulmer. Like, we were outmatched when we played for the finals, but if we'd had a Will Ulmer in there too, we were 1 or 2 guys away from really contending in that game. And I just love the kid, man. Just his personality. Yeah. I think he would have been a great fit in our program. Well,
before we go off the air again, we do have some things to give away, so we're going to work on that here in a few minutes. But we do want to say a special thank you to all of our sponsors, John Clark State Farm. I got a Facebook page and everything now as well, so tell the folks where they can find you at.
CountOnClark.com is our website, and also find us online on Facebook page. And we do everything from insurance to also I'm a financial advisor, so retirement planning and anything to do with financial planning, hit me up. I can help.
Smoking Jack's Barbecue, they have got some of the best barbecue around. You've got to look them up online as well if you're having an event coming up here in the fall. Don't be afraid to reach out to them. Listen, Thanksgiving's right around the corner.
Yeah, they'll do stuff for
things for like special events like
meal.
that.
Yeah, they don't just do big events.
Well, listen, if you're having a Halloween party or anything this fall, tailgating. That's the perfect place to go with Smoking Jack's Barbecue.
And their ribeyes are fantastic.
Yeah.
Their wings, I think they brought mac and Q. That's what they call it. So they brought mac and cheese. It's homemade with their pulled pork and their barbecue sauce. Really good.
All right. We also don't want to forget about our folks over at Campus Wearhouse. Again, if you are a Madison Central, a Madison Southern, Model, Berea, Fairstown, Foley, Caudle, it doesn't matter who you support, Campus Wearhouse over on the Eastern Bypass has got something to make you stick out in style while supporting your favorite team. They've got the maroon out at EKU's first home game tomorrow. Go by Campus Wearhouse, grab you a maroon shirt. They've got UK back at home tomorrow. Go out there and find you a Kentucky shirt to wear to their next home game. It's a great place to get the apparel that you're looking for at Campus Wearhouse. Also, KA Hair Salon. Listen, Carrie and the staff there do a great job of making you look good. If you are a hairstylist right now and you're trying to find a place that you want to work, they do have booth rentals available at KA Hair Salon right now, so be sure to reach out to them if you're looking for a place for you to call home. If you are a haircut or hairstylist, whatever you want to call it, they've got openings right now with booths available if you would like to check them out. KA Hair Salon. And Allen Farms and Rodeo, Kenny over here with Allen Farms and Rodeo, they're giving away some tickets to the rodeo coming up here in Richmond. It's Bulls and Barrels Richmond, coming up on Halloween night this year and November 1st, a 2-day event. So come on over here and check them out as well. Coach, we have got to pack up our stuff here, head up to the booth, and in about 30 minutes we'll start our pregame show. Before we do that, we've got this highlight reel that we're going to play with highlights and some huge moments from this rivalry over the last 7 or 8 years. So check that out, and we'll be joining you back here in about 30 minutes for the pregame show and getting you set for the kickoff between Madison Central and Madison Southern. Thanks for watching. Good evening, everyone, and welcome into Berea, Kentucky, as the Madison Southern Eagles host the Madison Central Indians in the county clash. Fakes it to Barnes, gives it to Mathis, Bryant pushing forward across the goal line. Touchdown, Indians. Keep it on the ground here. Another big hole for Pritchard this time. Jackson trying to punch one in, and he will find his way into the end zone.